and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. So hello there, beloved Ascension pioneers, and welcome to this video together with me today. It's been a while since I last have spoken to you, and today we are on a short hike here, really exploring the Alps, and I wanted to talk to you to some really deep in extent, which is about the infusion of light and the purpose that many of us have as volunteer souls, which will be all included in my book on the grand design and the mission of volunteer souls. So today I wish to speak on this note in terms of really understanding what this mission is about, because when I was shown, this deepest aspect of why I'm here on this planet, as this divine remembrance started to come through for me, I was actually seeing how everything that I do with nature, because nature is the primary expression in the physical of the life force of this planet. So as you know, I go about these walks and hikes, and I'm always outside during the day, and then at night I do this work and I write and I'm sharing my messages, and it's kind of like a double agent, right? So when I'm shown this, that for me, as being a part of the Tantrika group, we as beings, and it's a group effort, it's not a single effort, because it cannot be done at higher levels of light. It's always a group effort. So you work with the group and group consciousness, and we are actually here to raise the planetary life force, to help raise it. We do that by our own cultivation. And recently I created an audio, and it's available on my page, and it's called The Tantrikas and the Sacred Orgasm, because so many people do not understand this. And if you remember my last video on the volunteer souls and sacred knowledge and how a lot of it was lost, I was shown that so many people now at this threshold, because what does the threshold mean? The threshold is the light quotient that you need on your own personal ascension pathway to build up into your own ascended form. And because we are at different levels of awareness, our thresholds vary. So what's your threshold will depend upon how much of life force you've already cultivated. And I've shared that there's a difference in coming into this reality that some people are still ascending, while there's those of us who've already ascended, and we come here to assist as volunteer souls. And this will be the main part of my book, and I will talk about this, and I've written quite a lot about it already, about this light infusion and how do we do this. Because what we do, we don't have to go in the systems that are external. We don't have to go into what we say, well, it's wrong in the planet or the distorted forms, in terms of being physically associated with the issues. We don't have to become a part of these things, because we ourselves, volunteer souls, are not a part of the evolutionary timeline of this planet. We're here to assist this evolutionary timeline, right, with our higher realms knowledge and understanding. So yesterday I got this beautiful explanation of what volunteering within this mission truly means. And what it means is having a transpersonal, so non-personal experience within creation, while at the same time also having a unique personal experience while you're holding this physical form, while the work you're doing within your mission is not personal thing. So I've met a lot of people on my path who don't understand this, who they will start to challenge you, or they will come from the old perspective, or they're clinging all to certain old spiritual beliefs and the knowledge they've acquired. But the thing here is that those of us who come as the new energy on this planet, who are the new way showers and pioneers, we are here to really help to seed this seeds of the sacred life force, which brings new knowledge, which brings through the new codes of light, the new reality paradigm. And these things, although you might have studied a lot of teachings and spiritual ideals at a certain level, because the frequency of the earth, the planetary density is changing, you are changing. These structures and spiritual beliefs have to change. The laws of these spiritual natures are changing. So when you're connected deeply to the life force of all in union and the planetary life force, which a lot of us are here to help raise, you have a deeper understanding of these things. And of course, not everyone will have a deeper understanding about this, because they're coming at it from their own angle, which is okay. But I've got this message for those of us who are here as volunteers, that we have to stick with what we know, because it is so vitally important. And we will get poked by people who'll say, how do you know this? Well, how do you know this is true? Because they haven't had their own experience. And in the sacredness of knowledge, if you don't go through the rite of passage yourself, you don't understand it. You don't have the knowledge, so you have nothing as a platform to serve you within that understanding. So it is so highly important for us to not try to impose this, because then it just becomes another imprint. What we need to do, and what we're required to do specifically, is to stay with what we're doing as a bigger picture. A lot of times people will take that personally, or I've had experiences in my life where people quickly become attached to me and my light, and they see what they want to see within that light, although my mission was always very much related to the Holy Spirit life force, which means that I, as a physical person, could not be with something if the force guided me in a different direction. So I did something, life force was there, and then was gone, and I had to go with the force. I had to expand it in the way that was right. And sometimes people like to cling on to the ideas that they have, the perceptions they have of you, because it feels so safe and it feels, wow, you know, we bring a source of inspiration to them. But we, like I've explained, what we do is we work within the unity. So I'm going to share something with you today from this book I'm reading currently, which I'm absolutely loving. It's very enlightening and very important for the work we're doing. It's a part of the wholeness. And what we're doing is we're actually moving with every single thing that's distorted on a planet. We're moving to the core of that idea, density, structure, person, whatever it is about. So we shift the energy from the core of that essence self. We don't have to deal with the situation on the surface. We don't even have to get involved with certain things that I'm being shown a lot of the humans are involved with, like the politics, the structures, the systems. Most volunteer souls, they work behind the scenes, but not behind like it's fragmented, like this is the front, this is the back. It's a unified thing, so you're actually working from within the structure itself. And the reason why I want to show you this book today, and it's called Sanat Kumara, Training a Planetary Logos, is because it involves examples of such training, which is the training for the planetary logos. This is for all who are here as planetary light servers and those who are perhaps moving on that path to become a part of the initiation for that training. And there's a lot of you who perhaps are feeling resonance or calling to this, who've had various different trainings, and I know that people often will associate with this as being of a certain star-seeded being or race, but in truth it's more like the light training you've received on these different platforms of structure of the realm, different realms of creation. So what we do, in truth, we don't really teach, we don't superimpose, we don't change from the outside. A lot of times people will struggle with that because they will feel, okay, so I'm just changing one set of beliefs with the other change of beliefs. And I've talked to you so many times about this, that this is not really true transformation and transcendence. What we do, on the other hand, we use the planetary light grid, and this is what Sanat does as well. He works with the unity, the oneness concept, and uses it through practical application to assist the bigger picture, to assist the whole, so that they can become a part of this oneness, of this unity, rather than working from the realm of the mental teaching. And it's not the kind of training. So many times I feel in my own reality, people will come, they will absorb something from you, and if they're not ready, they will stop at a certain point. And this is usually either the relationship or the connection will end. They're no longer going to be able to perceive from there. They're going to have their own idea about this or you, but it's not how it works. And usually myself, and I'm giving you this from my own perspective, is because I don't want to taint anyone. I don't want to give them ideas. I don't want to put any imposing or, you know, inception upon them. I usually withdraw when Spirit shows me, look, they're not ready. This is what they're comfortable with. Let it be, because everyone from the unity perspective can hold the level of awareness that they choose so, and Ascension is choice. So I've met up with people who come and they're interested in certain things, but certain ideas they can't let go. And they say, well, this is just how it was. And usually I get this explanation that they've had so much spiritual growth through studying various things and religions and, you know, oracle cards or mysticism, Kabbalah, all these things. Okay, that's one thing. But remember again that ascension through life force, which is moving into a different form of density altogether, is basically not about the mental programming, which is just mentally training yourself. This is the little application. So like Sanat, he split his consciousness into numerous fragments, and they each, on each level of reality, had to awake. And remember that he's an awakener, and when he did, all the gifts started to translate through. He created this through the infusion of light, through oneness concept. So he utilized it in practice. So whereas a lot of people might have knowledge in certain areas, they're not utilizing yet the concept of oneness. And I've also met up with people who, they say they understand things like oneness, unity, and they say they're whole. And at a certain part, they might feel themselves as whole, but they haven't yet understood this greater wholeness concept. And to be so whole within yourself is you have literally no attachment to anything. You're moving with the life force where it guides you. What's your next assignment? Like, I need to be and have my own inner hermit time so at a high degree, right? At the high level of degree, so I can receive my assignments and I can really contemplate on them. And I will often experience, well, people don't understand this. They're going to try to kind of have their own assumptions of you or how you are, because they're seeing only the fragment and the surface, and that's not the biggest core of who you are. So you have to, as a part of your training, become so aligned with yourself that you know that there's nothing that can truly become a part of you from the outside, that no one can come, or nothing, no belief can come within your connection with spirit. And I always advise people, avoid anything that tells someone, oh, this is how it is, and you're comparing them to something you've experienced. Perhaps you don't know to the fullest extent where the awareness the other being is coming from. So that's not really benevolent when we share like this. So we, as true Ascension pioneers, we act from the core of that oneness, and we create light infusion. So we infuse things with our light, we plant the seed, and then we move away, because otherwise there will be attachment to it, and people will think it's because of us that something grows in their life, where it's never personal. Life force is a part of unity, and like it was shared in this beautiful book, there was one example when Sanat said about this assignment he thought he can't handle and he can't perform, and he pleaded to the unity and said, well, I can't do it, right? And he said, well, the oneness just acknowledged my request, but it said nothing back. And then later he found, when he really prayed what to do, and he got another opening, like a different doorway. And he said, wow, I realized in that moment that oneness only acknowledges oneness. Oneness only recognizes oneness. So when you say I can't, or this is not doable, or you're not acting from oneness. So sometimes you're limiting yourself by thinking that's all there is. And those of us who hold this sacred knowledge from higher realms, we know that there's so much more to reality, and often we see the things that perhaps many people are not yet either willing or ready to see yet. They need to go through their own levels of, activation, mastery, integration. And just tonight, I remembered I was walking and I had this epiphany what my dream was about. And I don't know if you've ever watched TV show Star Trek. I watched a few parts of the old TV show, which was back in the 60s, I think. And there was one show when this being, when they moved through this belt of energy, they went through the rim, and he got activated somehow, and he started changing, and he started mutating in a way. So his eyes looked like sparkling diamonds, and he had this vision, and with this he could do anything, but it was also destructive. But he had this power. And tonight I remember, oh my gosh, I had this dream. And in the dream, I was actually having those eyes. Like, my eyes were light, and I was beaming through them, but I was using this vision for good. And I remembered, and just in the morning when I did my soul cards in the oracles, there was one card with the being who sees everything, and little eyes, the eye of the eye of Ra, the eye of God. It was there, many of those different visions, and it was like fragments of what we see, but then there's an aspect of us that can oversee, the overseeing, the overlooking, overlighting a light of that oneness. So I wanted to also read you. And again, ouch, my hand. I wanted to record here because the scenery is so beautiful, so I'm not really sitting so comfortably, but I'm doing my best. I wanted to read you this two examples from the book, and then I will just like to say that much more is going to be presented in my book. I'm progressing a bit. The sketches are now over, my cosmic drawings, and now it's just time for me to do the final writing part and then to synthesize it all together. So it's progressing, as always, in divine timing. But I want to say that if you do want to go deeper into understanding of how you can do this infusion of light, how you're raising the planetary life force, to understand what was your light heritage as a being of light, how humans were created, what is the seed of life, This is all available in my audio, which is called The Tantric and the Sacred Orgasm. You can understand also the principle of the orgasm, what it was meant to, how it was planted in the human genome, when we were meant to activate this, and what are the stages and steps of that, because people still have such a shaded understanding of this, and a lot of it is only partial. And like I've said in my last video, this is not the ultimate yet. So there's beings who don't understand this yet, and that's okay. But there's those of you who perhaps will resonate, and you'll find your own truth connection within that. And that's the reason why I was doing this automatic writing, which later became this mini audiobook. So you can find the link down below. It's just like my all light activations, all the same. You can download it from the server, and that's it. So again, the basic of this book is, and I highly recommend it to everyone, because it shares these stories of these different life parallel experiences on different planetary structures that serve as a template of oneness and how to utilize it. And these stories are so good, they're so moving, they have such wisdom in them that's really deep and profound, of how we can use the concept of oneness when we work with the light, which is this essence, right? The essence of the structure that creates things in matter. And love is this ultimate divine love, is the structure, the glue that holds all of these structures together. So in every lifetime, these aspects of him, they need to awake and then later become a part of this bigger circle from which he divided that anyway as a being of light. So remember, light beings, we come from the already ascended perspective. You can't be a being of light if you're not ascended. I remember years back, I met this psychic she was on Facebook, I think, and it wasn't like I came for a reading. She just told me, she just wrote me when we added each other. And she said, oh, I see you. You were once a light being, and you're always assisting this planet, and you're going to continue to assist this planet. I'm like, how does she know this? And back then, it was years ago, I didn't even fully remember it myself, but she said the words that I needed to hear at that time. And I know there's a lot of you watching also who are also light beings, and everyone has the potential to be in this light body form, and the knowledge I share is what gets you to integrate and to moving into your threshold that you need through the quotient of light to embody this, so you can become physically ascended in that sense. So I want to share, first example is, and I really love that one, was when there was a dying planet and everything was plague and death and people were dying. So as he awakened to his ability, he remembered he's the awakener, the ascender, and what he did is he revitalized the planetary life force. He went to the core, he rejuvenated everything, and what came out was the planet no longer supported the structure of death, the program of death. Now everything started vibrating with the fullness of light. So people have just awakened, and they started a new evolutionary cycle because of that. So thus, a great life-giving outreach stretched across the face of the planet, and many were saved. Some said, no, I'm not interested in life. There is no life. I think there is only death. If we could now show them life in a way they could accept it, then we release them. We knew gradually they would learn there is only eternal life everywhere and every level. So you see, they did not try to force them. They simply accepted. We have to be... The infusion of light means you accept everything as it is. You don't try to reason with it. You don't try to change it. You don't, forcefully make it happen. You simply allow. You allow everything to be as it is. You don't try to persuade someone just because you feel they're not getting you. You have to be with where you are and understand that your spirit, intricate connection is between you and spirit. So we noticed an increased level of creativity on the planet. Women were starting to give birth again. And he told the people it will be very easy to have children now. It will not be difficult or painful. There are many children who want to come to this planet of life now. Mothers will simply take a day off to have a child and then return to their regular life without loss or strength of energy. The pain of giving birth is now gone. I want to also say here that there's a lot of people I meet who will say, well, I need this to ascend, or I need these remedies, but they're remedies. Remedy means they cure the symptoms for a while, but they don't shift you. They don't move you the way your ascension moves you, right? I suggested that a system of a childcare be set up. So what they were doing is everyone was to be supported in what they wanted to do on the planet and living their rightful mission. In other words, death no longer got in the way of life and living on the planet. The children who were now born were very, very aware. Many of them were twins. A comprehensive training program was set up for them and the planet flourished. Among the many new souls who came in were some of the same ones who had left, feeling there was only death. So you see, they shifted in their own time. After undergoing a cleansing on the inner level, they had taken a step forward in their understanding and had now come back to the planet with more hope. They would see if they truly understood how to live. They were now surrounded by an atmosphere of positive reinforcement which generated new levels of what life could be. And that's what's happening with a lot of the life force ascending beings and the planet at this time here on Earth. Everywhere awareness was increasing. There were scientific breakthroughs, great books were written, wonderful music was composed, beautiful pictures painted. Frequently there was a dancing and singing in the streets, a constant celebration of life. I love this sentence. This is how it is, and I live that way all the time. It's like, it's a constant. It's not like you degrade in a way and then you feel you need a remedy to cure it, or you need someone to help you fix that. It's just you are within the structure of this oneness, which is, it vibrates only to oneness. So you can't how to say it, like coerce it into something which is perhaps not. I see people try to mentally get this concept of oneness, but if you're not vibrating on every level with it, it's kind of like you're trying to fool yourself. But it's, the life will show you that either you are or not through that alignment of the core. So they sang of life, and a sense of wonder had been born on this planet. Appreciation of the opportunity to live together, harmony and peace were enjoyed as never before. All of this occurred because they had accepted life and released the old illusion, which was death. And this is what needs to happen on this planet now as well. I stayed and watched this planet through several generations. It leaped into a clearer and more magnificent level of life. It became a leader, and it's perhaps one of the most aware planets in this whole galactic area. So returning again to the level of the circle, which is what he does after he completes the mission, I felt privileged to have had this opportunity and knew that the souls from this planet were now also going into many training programs similar to the one chosen by me, as he was summoned by Spirit. I knew these souls now understood that they, as I also knew, are a part of a greater plan of living called the oneness, that the journey is to eternally be born into a new level of life. I love this sentence because it's how it is. I will read you one more example and then I'm through. This other story I just read now is he brought this remedy. It was a vision, right? They were accessing memory in the sacred teaching halls, how to call it, in the temples. And in the vision he went to get a certain plant for his friend, and he thought it's to get him to cure, but he actually moved with the light. So he said to him, when he had that experience, I have become a part of the sound, a part of the wind, because he said the light, the colors are calling him. Look for me as a basic part of the forest now. Don't worry about me. I'm truly alive in a way I never have been before. I am warm and loved as never before. Feel the love. Suddenly I was flooded with his love and knew that what had happened was his longing to be free and transformed him into a moving part of a greater form which had lovingly healed him. I asked, why did you go? Please help me to understand. He replied, I felt hopeless in my life. Nothing was working for me. My family had been killed suddenly and I was alone. Now I'm not alone. I'm a part of the forest, a part of something greater. Can you see how much I have longed for this? My longing had made me ill. The forest healed me with the medicine from the swallow plant and the sounds. In return, I have joined the forest, become a part of it. Now I too can heal, and I shall do so. I felt the power in his words, and within my body I could feel the healing flow. As I felt it move, I raised up. No longer did I walk on all fours. Now I could stand up straight. I felt my spine straighten. I had been bent for 40 years, and now I could stand straight and tall. Even more importantly, I too felt a part of the forest. I knew I wouldn't disappear into it, but every leaf on the trees, every plant, literally every part of the forest sang within me, and I within it. I knew this was the oneness expressing in form. So then they actually recorded the vision, and he said that he knew that what he had recorded and experienced, this experience which many could now use to understand and express the oneness in form through the power of the forest, they could actually feel this power moving through them. This opportunity would open for each of them latent abilities. They would gain a greater sense of purpose, the purpose of sharing it, being free to express uniquely within the oneness. And this was learning tools to help assist to share how it feels like, because it was the sensualized experience. It wasn't a mental experience, and that's what this was really important here. So thousands of people had benefited from the visions. I knew that my purpose was to bring the visions through me so that others could grasp these basic principles of life more clearly. I had been given a gift as a tool so that all might learn from it. Yeah. So this is what we're doing here. Those of us here now, exactly, very similar. That's why I love this book, because it's truly, I think, meant for every awakener, every being basically, but everyone who's ready and everyone who has been an awakener all their life, who has shared their life force for the greater good of all, because you don't just exist here for your personal experience. You never did. And if you're one of those beings and you couldn't fully understand that until now, I think my book will kind of get you on this straight path of divine remembrance, which is why we're here, because our mission is expanding very rapidly once we remember. So there were only a few parts of him after this, when he returned, that experienced still the physical level. I saw birth was taking place within the greater totality of me, because these were all aspects of him, you know, as the bigger being. And that this was a wonderful new beginning. I eagerly looked forward to it, knowing that ever greater experiences lay before me. And with these words, I end this video of today. As I said, I'm still on a writing retreat and on nature retreat, because when I go, I really work with the planet. Beyond everything I do, this is my main mission. This is my, I wouldn't even call it mission, it's like a life purpose. It's who I am as a tantrika being. And then everything else is an extension of that. So the books, the teachings, the sharings, it's all an extension, but this is the core of the being. And for me, ever since I remembered, everything was aligned with that, because it was the truth. Because in truth, there can only be alignment, because it's coming from the oneness and how you utilize the concept of oneness in your creations. So the infusion of light means that everything you create comes through the expression of that light and form. It's not mental, it's not forced, it's not like something you believe, it's a conviction or an idea. It's much deeper than that. So I love you so much. I'm going to be with you as I can. I think the next video will be June's update for the Ascension update. And until then, you can find the MP3 for the Cosmic Orgasm, because it's such a beautiful story. It's about half an hour long. It's a mini audiobook, and I think it's amazing. It can get you to most profound understandings, and very simple at its core, how truth always is. Take care, and as always, with so much love, wisdom, and power, and I'll see you again soon.